I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. Ooh. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, I'ma keep winning, but you only go.
What's going on, guys? Jake Cam back with another video, and today I'm going to be looking at ESPN's rankings for the top available prospects in the 2025 NFL Draft. But before we get into it, please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agree or disagree with that talk about in here, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for future NFL content that I'm going to be putting out. So I know that these rankings aren't always necessarily correct. They usually have people ranked higher, but this is a combination of a couple people and ESPN that end up putting these rankings out. And this is usually, if you're watching the draft on ESPN, this is usually the ticker at the bottom that has best available players right now. Uh, Throughout the draft, these are the rankings that actually end up coming on the screen. So it's going to be interesting to kind of look at. In this video, I'm going to look at kind of the top 50 guys. So starting this out, obviously the top two guys that they have, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, those are pretty much unanimously between everybody, the top two guys in this draft class. Now, it's starting to look like that Hunter's going to go to the Browns. Abdul Carter's going to go three to the Giants. So it makes perfect sense with those two guys being at the top. I do think Abdul Carter is the best player. You do have Mason Graham at number three falling in there. And then Tyler Warren, interestingly enough, usually Genty is almost at three some of the times. But here ESPN has Ashton Genty coming in at number five and Tyler Warren and Mason Graham being over him. Tyler Warren definitely is a playmaker, and he's going to be the first tight end taken off the board. Now, where that ends up happening is going to be a little bit of a question mark. Is it going to be seven to the Jets? Could it possibly be an outside chance? That's number five to the Jaguars. Could it be number 10 to the Bears if Genty's off the board? But usually, I feel like when we see this, I feel like Genty is usually the number three best player available. So that's why it's kind of interesting that they're putting Mason Graham up there. But usually, this is kind of the consensus top five amongst everybody is Carter, Hunter, Graham, Warren, Genty. Now the order kind of varies from three to five, but this is usually consistently the top five that a lot of people end up having, regardless of positional value. Now, running back depends on the value, but Ashton Genty is kind of a generational running back prospect that we've kind of seen. Maybe the best one since Saquon Barkley that we've had that went number two overall. And then an interesting one here is Jalen Walker. Now, looking at Jalen Walker, he's a guy, he's probably going to go number eight to the Panthers. If you look at it, he's rated as the number two overall edge rusher behind Abdul Carter. He's a hybrid type guy. He can play off ball linebacker, he can play off the edge, and he's more of that speed rusher type guy off the edge. He has very active hands, and he knows how to win a lot with his inside moves. That's just a combination of his hands and his quickness. He's definitely gonna be a question mark because if he doesn't go number eight to the Bears, where does he really go? But I think that he could end up going. Some people have been flirting with since we're about a week out. Maybe he goes number five to Jacksonville. I think the Raiders could potentially end up really liking him and taking him at number six. But he's a little bit small, which kind of begs the questions since he is that hybrid type guy you know, which one can he really play? We've seen these hybrid type guys over the last couple of years, and they haven't really worked out. Zayvon Collins with Arizona was one. Isaiah Simmons, even though he was more of a safety linebacker combo in Arizona as well, didn't really work out. So, how are those really guys that are those hybrid type guys really going to work out in the NFL? And the team that drafts Jalen Walker, are they going to use him correctly? Probably the Panthers, I would think, is where he's going to get drafted. Are they going to be able to use him correctly? They do just need talent on that defense. So it makes perfect sense, but he's a little bit smaller. Cam Ward, quarterback positional value. That's really what's going to get him the number one overall pick. He's pretty much a lock to the Titans, but he comes at number seven here. Mimbu as the top offensive tackle is definitely interesting, but I really do like this. I'm not the biggest Will Campbell guy, so I do think Armand Mimbu is one of the best tackles in this draft, and he's going to be very good. He's going to be a right tackle. He's very good in that zone run blocking scheme. He pretty much beats everybody off the ball immediately. He gets movement in that run game. His pass blocking still needs to come along a little bit, but it's still a very good spot. And if he could be developed in that aspect, he's going to be one of the better tackles in football. Maybe a Penix Sewell situation here, but He's not obviously he's not as good as what Penei Sewell was coming out in that loaded draft class that ended up happening. Michael Williams being number nine is very interesting. I feel like he's kind of been following them boards recently, so it's kind of interesting to see him in here at number nine. You know, he has all the upside in the world. He has that body frame that you want. Reminds me a lot of Trayvon Walker, who was also another Georgia Bulldog, but he could end up falling down boards a little bit, and he has kind of been recently in the later half of the first round. Colston Loveland would be the second tight end taken. He's seen very highly in the NFL. He's more that Brock Bowers slot type guy that could line up. Jahdae Barron being the number one ranked corner over Will Johnson is definitely another case. Um, his biggest question is he's a little bit smaller. He's more of a slot corner. So how high do you take a slot corner? Is he going to be able to play on the boundary? I think he is going to be able to, but that's really going to be the question compared to him and Will Johnson and whichever team ends up liking him. I do think Jahdae Barron ends up being the first corner taken. I think he's the one that goes to the 49ers with that Robert Saleh offense or Robert Saleh defense. Obviously, coming in as defensive coordinator, he's going to want to value the cornerback position. So I do think that they end up going Jahdae Barron over Will Johnson. But Will Johnson's injury questions are kind of what hurt him. Running back Amarion Hampton would be one of the probably best running back in this class and would be kind of considered a very top 10 pick of a team that needs a running back. If Ashton Genty wasn't in this class, I do think if Genty's off the board, Hampton either goes number 10 to the Bears or he ends up going 12 to the Cowboys. I think his absolute floor the latest he could fall is to the Denver Broncos. He's very big, very speedy. He has the patience and vision that you want out of the running back position. And then Shador Sanders here, obviously he could go anywhere from number two to number 21, and I wouldn't be shocked either way. The recent reports is that he's not going to go two or three. He is probably going to go number nine to the Saints if I had to guess, but he could end up falling a little bit. There's been talks about a team maybe moving up if he ends up falling a little bit. The Browns could potentially move up into the middle of the first round, package their second round pick with it to move up from pick 30. Maybe a team like the Steelers try to move up to end up snagging him. Who knows? He could pretty much be falling anywhere. Tedero McMillan being the first receiver, he could end up. I think he goes to the Cowboys right now, number 12. James Pierce, he's very high on the board and ranking based on an athletic standpoint and a production standpoint from 2 years ago, but he has that character concern. Is he going to be able to be in the NFL in a locker room? Is he going to be a cancer to that locker room? And another guy is Jahad Campbell. Some people have this guy in the top 10. This draft is definitely weird because all the players are ranked so similarly. So they're ranked so similar and so close together that a player could go number eight in the top 10 and it wouldn't shock me. Or they could go in the late first round at 27 and it wouldn't shock me. Jahad Campbell's that type of guy. I think he's going to grow around to the Buccaneers. He could go even earlier. Some people have had him mocked to the Saints if they don't go quarterback. He has a very great build. He's 6'3", 235, and it's pretty much his combination of his pass rushing ability, but also his ability to be able to match up with running backs and tight ends and pass coverage as well that makes him so dominant in his ability to play. But, linebacker is one of those things. Not many of them have been taken in the first round recently. But where you do hit on one, it's a very big asset to your defense. And then Will Campbell, obviously not being ranked high, Kelvin Banks above him. I do agree with these rankings. I think that the offensive lineman, Will Campbell, is around the third best offensive lineman in this class. I do like Kelvin Banks. He could play guard or tackle, either one of these two guys. Kelvin Banks is more of that all-around tackle that you find in the running game and passing game. Shamar Stewart has the upside that everybody's been talking about. Nick Emanwari, I do find it very interesting that he's the number one safety now. I think that he is going to be the number one safety taken off the board. Some people have him in the late teens. He could go, I think his floors to the Vikings around the 24 spot, around in there to be able to take over for Harrison Smith. Mike Green had all the production in the world. Derek Harmon's an interesting one 'cause he's a guy that some people have had in the second round, but he's probably one of the best pure pass rushers from the interior defense line standpoint in this class. Donovan Roku is another guy that could go in the first round. He's a guy that has had the production and he has the potential with that frame. 6'3", 250 pretty much. 16 and a half sacks. He ranks second in the FBS only behind Mike Green. Matthew Golden is another guy that anytime Texas needed the big play, he was the guy that ended up making it. He's probably going to be a first round pick as well. Walter Nolan is a guy that some people have had falling down the board a little bit. Maxwell Hairston, a lot of the insider reporters like Mel Kiper, Daniel Jeremiah, and all those guys have said that there's going to be multiple cornerbacks taken in the first round, and one of the guys that they talk about is Maxwell Hairston as one of those guys. And with him being in there, it's mainly his speed and his ability to pretty much make up ground because of his speed. Now his tackling's a little bit of an issue. Another one, are we going to see three quarterbacks? It's the reports recently have been that Jackson Dart is pretty much guaranteed to almost go in the first round. Now, where's he going to go? Is he going to go to Pittsburgh? Is Cleveland going to move back up for him? Kind of that same Shador Sanders situation. Josh Simmons, Travion Henderson. Is there going to be three running backs taken in the first round this year? Couple of these receivers fall down the board, like Emeka Ibuka. Jaden Higgins over Emeka Ibuka is definitely interesting. Jaden Higgins is seen as a very early second round pick, but having him over some of these guys is definitely very interesting. Josh Connerly could be a franchise tackle. I think he's been kind of falling on the board a little bit. And then probably my favorite offensive lineman in this class that's fallen on the board quite a bit is Tyler Booker. I think that he's the best all-around offensive lineman, even though he's going to be a guard, whoever takes him. But he has the best ability to work up to the second level and be able to use his angles to work up to the second level. Tyler Shot being this high is definitely, I don't think he's this high of a quarterback, but he's definitely been getting that late buzz in the past couple of days that he's going to go very early. And some people have had him in the early second round. I don't necessarily see it. Malachi Starks could fall. Elijah Aurora being one of the better tight ends in this class. He's very big. He didn't have a whole lot of production all 4 years, but he kind of broke out his senior year with Cam Ward. Gray Zabel, somebody. He's very low on this list. I think he should be much higher. He could play all five positions. He pretty much dominated the offseason at the Senior Bowl, center, guard, and tackle. Everything he could play. I think he goes to a team around Seattle. And then rounding out this list, you have a couple more cornerbacks. With Benjamin Warson, who's had his injury issues. You have Mason Taylor. Some say that he could sneak into the first round recently, which is insane. Luther Burton's kind of fallen down the board. Noel, another receiver that's kind of fallen. Uh, that's kind of like a second round guy. And then Jonah from Arizona. I'm not gonna try to say his last name. I haven't been able to pronounce it all draft cycle. He's one of those guys that can end up stepping in and being an instant starter at the offensive guard spot. Luther Burton he's kind of been falling down the board a lot too. He could be a first round guy or he could go in the middle of the second. But a lot of these guys are ranked so similarly that it definitely creates an issue that we can almost see anybody go on Thursday next week at any point in the draft, and we probably wouldn't be shocked about any of it. We could see a lot of guys fall and wouldn't be shocked by it. But these are the top 50 rankings on ESPN's big board that are going to pop up with the best available on draft night. A couple of them are shocking, a couple of them aren't. That's just how it is with ESPN. A lot of their stuff, especially these rankings, some people are going to be ranked higher than what you would think. But please make sure to comment what you agreed with or disagree with. Please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for future NFL content. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, feel like John Moran. Need a triple double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple. I don't drop the ball. Now I never fumble. I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Moran. Need a triple double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a